Hello, everyone. So, when they do a major trade show here in America that shows off a bunch of Transformers, I usually like to do a video for it. Well, we can do that with Japan too. Takara Tomy just held a hobby expo and showed off a whole bunch of stuff, including a lot of a few nice reveals, a lot of like really good looks at stuff that we have not seen yet, and or at least not had in hand yet. And there was a few surprises along the way. So this might be kind of a quick video. I have no idea. We're just kind of going to run down a lot of the images that were taken, a lot of the things that people are buzzing about, and just kind of give my thoughts and opinions. So first off, a lot of this is from TFW 2005. The user Gamerlingual was nice enough to go through there and snap a whole bunch of photos for the site. So credit where credit's due. This is their legwork. I am just talking about their legwork. So looking through it, the first thing everyone buzzed about is that we actually got a look at the final Stunticon breakdown. Everyone I love how the news sites reported this. And everyone just flipping out. Oh my God, we have our first look at the final Stunticon. Breakdown is real. Breakdown's here, and breakdown's a leg. It's one of those weird situations where you get that first confirmation of a toy's existence through the weirdest means that have really no bearing on what the toy is or what it's like or how good it is. It just happens to exist. That's all we know about Breakdown, is that he now officially exists as a physical production piece that's completely out of the prototype stage. And that's literally all it is. There's a ton of pictures of it, ton of pictures, every angle they could get of this thing, and it's literally just a leg on the back of Menasor. That's it. Everybody, but everyone told me oh man, we got the first look at Breakdown. No, let me see. He's a car folded into an L. That's it. You would think at the very least, you'd have the decency to leave one off to the side in robot mode, so you weren't just teasing us or anything, right? All right, so what can we see? It's just it's the same. So what can we actually infer from this? Is there anything to infer from this? All it is a car being folded in 90 degrees. The concern here that I see is that the windshield and the front end doesn't surprise me, but the fact the windshield is treated the same exact way as Wild Rider does concern me. You saw my review of Wild Rider recently. I'm not too thrilled with how that toy came out. I feel like I feel like Dead End looks a lot better. And I feel like Dragstrip plays and functions a lot better, a lot more cleverly than Wild Rider, who felt very plain and has this big old backpack that doesn't seem like it has any idea what it's supposed to do. So I don't exactly know how to feel about this. If it's going to be a remold, it would be really weird. In a way, it would make sense because if you look at the originals, there's really not much difference between the two. That just some minor just detail sculpting. Engineering wise, they're mostly the same. So it's weird. I don't really want it to be a remold, because then it'd be the only remold out of the five. It wouldn't make sense. But you know what? But at the same time, it's also one where if they wanted to go that route, I can't really fault it. There's no real mistake there. It's otherwise you're designing a toy that's basically exactly the same. You're just trying to figure out a different way of transforming it for the sake of making it different. So, okay. It genuinely wouldn't surprise me if they're just retools of each other. It looks like it's going in that direction. That's literally the only thing we can glean from this. I mean, I think the best thing that we got from this would have been a complete look at Menasor. God, the strangest angles, trying to get any detail, trying to infer any detail, any information you can glean from this, anything at all. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what we go through sometimes. No, I think the coolest thing that would have come from this was our first look at a completed Menasor, which is blocked, unfortunately, by Motormaster. Oh no, I'm sorry, Mortarmaster. I don't know how the extra R got in there. We've only been spelling his name, correctly for what 38 years. Anna, this to me was the main event. Like seeing, like if we got to actually see Menasor in some cool pose where you could see all four of the Stunticons and see like how big and blocky and like how solid he looks when he's fully combined, then you're on to something. Then I'm interested. This, like, unfortunately, like, the photo, like, I really just wish there was a photo of Menasor. It's like this comes close, but man, that little Motormaster's in the way. Oh, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. I'm gonna see all of Menasor. Oh well. There's people already who have like bought 2 Wild Riders and 2 drag strips, and they've already like hodgepodge like something close to it. So we can at least get that. We can at least have that. I don't know. It's just amusing to me. It's just funny. It's like it's supposed to be a big deal, and it's just like a wet fart is what it was. It's just like it's nothing. But hey, we know the toy is at least ready for production. Uh, Speaking of toys in production, Star Saber looking like he's completely out of every prototype stage. He's in the mass production level. Finally. So lots of good looks at him all the way around. You can see how much of we see how much of Victory Leo takes up the backpack here. He doesn't really like extend off the back nearly as badly as I feared he would. Looks like there's not a whole lot of weight that Star Saber's hips have to accommodate for. So it looks like he's actually pretty well integrated. It seems like he's not going to be like a burden on this toy's engineering the way that like the Flame Toys Victory Saber was, where it's like nearly impossible for it to stay vertical. Looking really good. Of course, it's looking really, really good. I've been super hyped for this thing ever since they announced it. You know, if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know that. Yeah, Victory Leo himself looks pretty simple, but guess what? That's pretty much how he is. There's nothing complex about him because he's got so much to do. He's still looking good, though. He's not looking bad for what he's doing, for what he is. Let's see, there's the flight stand, fully painted and molded, looking really, really nice. All right, can we get a look at the Micro Masters? They're somewhere in here. Yeah, there we go. Holly and Fire, which Fire's along for the ride because he's like shares the mold with Holly. So that's how you end up with Fire in there too. The release date also got shown off because it's on the name tag for Star Saber. I get a good shot of it. There we go. December. December is the shipping date for Victory Saber. Oh, Saber. Oh, Romanization's fun sometimes. But keep in mind that this is the Takara release date. They started their pre-orders later, so we're not exactly sure how accurate that is for an American release date. We know it's supposed to be winter, and winter is coming, to spin a cliche. So we're still trying to figure that one out. Still looking for some kind of concrete info on when we're actually getting our HasLab stuff shipped out to us. Like me, I'm like super excited. Come on, bring it on. Where is it? It is still to come. Still to come. Still waiting. More shots of the Canon Optimus Prime. It's still just a super bizarre thing. More shots of the Dark Amber Victory Leo. Or Victory Leo. See, see where my brain still is? Lio Convoy. Shots of his butt. Alright, so, and then we got Masterpiece Trailbreaker. Now, you should know me by now. I'm a Trailbreaker guy. Trailbreaker was one of my favorites growing up. The more I look at this toy, the less confident I am in how it turned out. His torso looks really, really long. The pelvis section looks a little bit too narrow for my taste. It feels like he should be a little bit thicker and bulkier. And there's just something off about how it looks that it's making me second guess my pre-order on this thing. Especially because like it's modern masterpiece. These things are not cheap, so like I'd really like it to be as good as possible. Um, this one I might cancel the pre-order and just like sit on the back burner and just take like a wait and see approach. I think ever since Hound, I've been like that about every masterpiece. I can't take masterpiece at face value anymore. I have to scrutinize and I have to wait because it could come up really bad because it has in the past. See, beyond that, they showed off a whole bunch of stuff that's already on the way that Hasbro's already shown off. I like Point Blank is actually way... he looks really big for a deluxe. So he's doing some interesting space saving there. Or at the very least, he looks bigger than Dead End and Crankcase nearby. Uh, and then Armada Starscream is either kind of a small end of the Voyager, or Skullgrain is just a large deluxe as well, because they don't look too far off size-wise. Especially when you take a look at Clampdown, like down the line. Like Skullgrain looks way bigger than him. And Inferno looks gigantic in his beast mode. Like those legs are doing so much to make him just look like he's a giant looming ant. I mean, he is a giant ant, even at toy size, but you get my point. He looks really big, which is a nice little trick. See, and I believe that's just about it. It shows off Velocitron, which is exclusive to the Takara Tomy Mall in Japan. See, and yeah, and then a big mass, a big mass of Metroplexes just kind of cobbled everyone together. Showed off the next two Masterpiece movie toys as well. Blackout, who's already out, and then Starscream, who we've already seen, but now he has tattoos. So, at the very least, it's all in sync, showing off the studio series. This basically kind of just boiled down to like when Japan is getting all the stuff that we already have or is already dated for America. So, nothing terribly interesting there, but we're not done quite yet. We finally got what I have been asking to Takara to give us for months now. We got a fully combined look at essentially a final product for Masterpiece Raiden. I say, like, sorta, because it is a great proto. A lot of it is glued together, as prototypes are generally not really made for, like really solid connections or, like, really tight friction and such. So it's a lot of glue and duct tape holding things together in a prototype, especially a combiner prototype. But they've finally done what I've been wanting them to do, which is to show us something close to the final product, so we know what we're investing $1,000+ in and waiting over a year for. And I guess better now than later. Like we don't have too many. Like there's only, I think, only a couple of them out now, and then another one that's up on pre-order. Like it's not so far into it that like it's like you can't put on the brakes yet if you don't like how the final product is turning out. You can just like, I just got a couple, I can be happy, or you can sell them and kind of get out from under it. You're not stuck with like 4 or 5 of these things before you finally get to see what the final product is going to look like, or at the very least be able to imagine it. So yeah, it looks about what I presumed it would look like. It's definitely got a lot of interesting aspects to it. The leg cannons, those are accurate to the original toy, but they weren't like chunks of the trains. It was just like a plug-in, like wing gun looking thing. So they're using that as a way of taking some of the added bulk off of them and relocating it. Okay, fine. It keeps it from being too filled with kibble, I guess. But yeah, like it looks like it comes together pretty solidly. It looks like it's got a lot more panels to deal with than a lot of the combiner toys we've gotten before. I look at like things like Devastator and Predaking, and you've seen these really intelligent ways of dealing with the shapes and the sizes of the characters. And then, well, Predaking more than Devastator in that sense. Let's be honest there. But yeah, like I think it's okay for what it's turned out to be. This is not something I would personally go after. The final product, knowing that it's relatively the same height as a Combiner War character and Combiner, it's a little bit off-putting. It's a little bit off-putting. On the back here, you can see there's just chunks of train hanging off his butt. Uh, I guess they couldn't figure out what to do with that. One other thing I finally noticed now that we can actually see it from the side is that it's not using independent bicep pieces for the combination. It is using the legs turned sideways. So just like the Combiner War figures, it's depending on the legs to create the bicep of the combined robot, but crucially, it's not depending on the hips and the knees to provide elbow articulation. That's a completely dedicated joint. So that much to Takara's credit. Got a way to avoid that, thankfully. All right, so that's good. That's all well and good. I'm still not happy with how much kibble seems to be hanging off the back of it, but I guess that's the only way this is actually going to work. Here you can actually start seeing like spots where it's like tacked together because they're just trying to get it to hold up long enough to be present on the show floor. I mean, sculpting looks good. Like, detail looks good. Like, it's fully rendered. I can't really fault it for that. I'm still not terribly excited about the proportions. The hips look really small compared to, like, how big the torso and wide the shoulders are. He looks a little bit too narrow in the middle, but that's more personal preference to me. Like it's hard for me to tell how this guy's hips are going to work. But apparently they are. Apparently he's got full range of motion everywhere. See, I want to get through some of these close-ups here and see if there's anything else to bring out. But yeah, like it seems to come together pretty well. You can see where the pelvis section actually does seem to still be a little bit in the prototype stage. We'll get to that a little bit. But yeah, I really wish I could tell how the hips worked a little bit better than this. It seems they're a little bit obfuscated by a lot of the clutter on this toy. Yeah, like you can literally see where just like pieces of plastic have been glued onto it in order to hold certain elements of it together. It's now, see, where's the really like egregious example of that? Yeah, like things like that. Where's literally just like a plastic bar melted onto the back to keep the two legs halves together. You can see this back is probably going to be a lot more closed up on the final product. And then, yeah, just some parts just glued together. This thing is barely holding together. But it is a thing. So at the very least, Takara's finally done what I've been asking. It looks fine. Not something I'd be interested in, but I hope the people who have been going out for this particular masterpiece at least has some idea of what they're buying now. Like, that's better than nothing. And I'm sure give it about 24 hours, someone will Photoshop this and make it look exactly like the product you're going to get once the whole thing is done. So, yeah, like I said, Gamerlingual was the one who got all the photos of this for TFW, but they also had a chance to ask Takara representatives some questions, and this is where things got really interesting for me. So, there's only a few questions here, but a few things came up that are like pretty important. Number one, the rep has not even seen the Masterpiece Cliffjumper prototype until I showed it to him. That's pretty weird. We've seen that Cliffjumper prototype in various stages of development, and it keeps popping back up. And yet, here is a representative from Takara Tomy who has no idea it's a real thing, no idea that it actually exists somewhere. I really do wonder what is up with Masterpiece Cliffjumper when it seems like it's ready for production, and yet no one at Takara, like, we still don't have any information directly from Takara about this, even at an event like this where you can ask them directly. And they're not even in the know. These are the people who they're sent out by the company to answer questions and to be the source of info for the press and for the more inquisitive people. And here they are being left in the dark. What is the conspiracy to Cliffjumper that like he has to be kept in the dark like this? It's bizarre. It's really bizarre. Speaking of prototypes that have been around a long time with no answers, the Armada Convoy is still in the planning stages. It is not officially canceled yet. That's kind of shocking considering it's been 5 years. This is Takara Tomy. Like, they were canceling, they canceled, like, our animated Hotshot and Marauder Megatron, the second, the second they decided that animated needed to stop production. This is a company that, had like prototypes for Transtech figures that would have still been really cool items in RID, and they canceled those outright. Like, they're not afraid of just dropping a prototype when they feel like it's more trouble than it's worth. But yet, we still have Armada Optimus on the table. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The budgets have changed so much since that prototype first came to light. I don't think there's any room on a modern toy department for it. Even at Commander class, I'm not entirely sure that you could get a trailer made for it that's actually going to be satisfying for collectors. Like, I feel like it'd be one of those scrunched down, too small, and if it did form legs, they'll be nice and hollow. I feel like at this point, HasLab is going to be the only route that Optimus has of actually being produced, unless they want to do a completely sans trailer and do some special release thing with it. Either way, like it's curious. It's curious that Armada Prime mold is still viable and still something Takara is considering. They did confirm Raiden Combined Mode won't have anything glued onto it. They basically just had to go, like, yes, this is just for display of the prototype. We're not going to have sections glued together. They mentioned legs and ankles will have full articulation. What isn't decided is waist articulation. This goes back to that midsection of the toy kind of looking unfinished. It's weird to me that we're this far in, they're actually selling pieces of this toy now, and they still don't even know if they can work in a waist joint. It seems like kind of late in the game to actually trying to be figuring that part out. Like, maybe that's just me, but I don't know. Like, at the very least, it's nice to know, like, the legs fully work, because every shot I've seen of this just makes it look like the legs are a little bit too static or stiff. And he also, like, they passed on a request for a Power Master Prime Masterpiece, and yeah, and they felt like having God Jinrai as a possible MP might be a better idea. I could absolutely see that. I mean, give him an excuse to put another Optimus Prime in the Masterpiece line, even if in Japan they're going to call it Jinrai. Yeah, I could see that. I could absolutely see that. But that's all we got. That's all we got from the Takara Tomy Hobby Expo. Some information, some looks at some stuff that I feel like we should have gotten looks at months ago, and a little bit of hope for those still holding out for that Armada Optimus. It might still be on the way. Fingers crossed. So, that's what a toy expo in Japan looks like. Thank you guys for joining me. Hope you gained a little bit of something from this. Hope you're like nice and excited like me for some of the things shown off here. Yeah, share your excitement in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.